Okay, so to get started today, I want to ask you to do something, a little thought experiment.
I'm intrigued.
I want you to try and imagine a world where logic, the thing we prize above all else.
The bedrock of our science, our laws, our sanity.
Exactly. Now imagine that very thing is actually the cage.
That is. Yeah, that's a disorienting thought. We're trained from birth to believe in the beginning was the Word, the Logos, reason itself.
Right. We think that if we can name something, categorize it, explain it logically, we've mastered it. But what if that's the deception? What if the word isn't the foundation of truth, but actually a prison wall?
And what if the real beginning wasn't a sentence at all?
What if it was just a sound?
Yeah.
A vibration, a frequency?
You are launching us right into the deep end of the metaphysical pool today.
I really am. And it's because the sources we have in front of us, they are unlike anything we have ever covered. We are diving into the esoteric cosmology of an artist and thinker known as Radio-MANNADORO. And the central premise of this entire deep dive is going to challenge how you process everything.
The argument is so simple, but it's incredibly radical.
It is. Logic is secondary. Frequency is primary.
And this isn't just some abstract theory about music or art, is it?
No, not at all. It's a fundamental claim about the very structure of our universe. We've got YouTube transcripts here that they're almost hypnotic.
The rhythmic chanting.
Yeah, just repeating words like heat and drums over and over. And then we have these dense text files, testo incolato, that blend Gnosticism, quantum physics, cultural criticism.
Into this single unified theory of reality. It's a lot.
It is a lot.
Yeah.
So our mission today is to try and decode this. We're not just reading a script. We're trying to really understand this argument that humanity is trapped inside a glitchy matrix.
And that the Logos, the Word, is a deception.
A total deception. The source argues we're living in a fixed match, a rigged game, and the only way to win is to stop playing by the rules of logic.
It is heavy, heavy stuff. We're going to be touching on David Lynch, Nietzsche, some very distorted theology, the physics of time.
But the goal is to get to that core message, that words are prisons.
And music might be the only key out, an undeciphered language.
So, yeah, buckle up. We're going way beyond logic today.
That's it.
Okay, so let's start right at the heart of it, the false logos. Because normally in Western thought, the logos it's the divine principle. It's God's reason, right?
It's the good guy. But Radio-MANNADORO just flips this table completely over.
It's a total inversion.
And to get it, you really have to understand the Gnostic roots of this argument. In Gnosticism, there's a key distinction.
Between the true God and something else.
Exactly. There's the true ultimate God, sometimes called the monad, the source of all light. And then there's a lesser, flawed creator God.
The demiurge.
The demiurge, the craftsman who built this material world.
And the traditional story is that this creator breathed life into Adam, gave us a soul, a gift.
Right. But this source, it reads that moment completely differently.
Yeah.
It argues that when the demiurge breathed that so-called life into Adam, he didn't give him truth.
He breathed a lie.
He breathed a lie. He installed a false logos.
That's a genuinely terrifying concept.
It is.
It implies that our fundamental operating system, the way we think, the way we speak and organize the world, is basically malware.
And the source is explicit. It says words are prisons for the intellect.
Okay, so let's break that down. What does that mean in practice?
Well, think about it. You look at a tree, you see this living, vibrating thing, complex biology energy.
Yeah, sure.
But the moment your brain supplies the word tree, you collapse all that incredible complexity into a 4-letter label.
You stop seeing the actual thing.
And you start seeing the label. You've just put reality in a little linguistic prison.
So by defining the world, we're actually limiting it. We're cutting ourselves off from the frequency that was there before the word.
Precisely. And the source argues that logic comes from this corrupted logos. So if the logos itself is a lie from a deceptive creator...
And logic is just a tool of confusion.
Exactly.
Right.
It's designed to keep us running in circles, arguing over definitions, and missing the actual, the vibration of existence.
And this brings us to the Tower of Babel. The source uses it as the perfect allegory for this whole control mechanism. Now, the story I always heard was a warning against pride. Humans try to build a tower to the sky to reach God.
And God confuses their languages to humble them. That's the standard interpretation.
But Radio-MANNADORO looks at that and just says, nope, that's not what happened.
Not even close. The source argues Babel wasn't about hubris at all. It was about Linguistic programming.
Linguistic programming. I mean, that sounds like something straight out of science fiction.
It essentially is. The source suggests the people of Babel were getting too close. The sky, in this sense, isn't a physical place. It's real knowledge.
The ability to resonate with the true frequency of the universe.
They were united. They were vibrating together. The signal was getting too strong.
So the system, the demiurge, had to initiate a shutdown protocol.
Exactly. The confusion of tongues wasn't a punishment. It was a security patch. A firewall.
Wow.
By shattering their unity into 1,000 different languages, the system guaranteed that humans would spend the rest of history just misunderstanding each other.
They could no longer resonate. They were trapped.
Trapped in the confusion of the false logos, it prevents the signal from ever syncing up again.
And it's not just babble. The source takes a sledgehammer to the Garden of Eden story, too.
Oh, yeah. And the tone is so blunt.
It's incredibly blunt. The text basically just asks, if Eden was a paradise, why did you put the poison tree there? Why put the serpent there?
It just highlights the ridiculous logical holes in the story, the stupidity, as the source calls it.
Right. It's like, if you're a loving creator building a safe place for your children.
Do you plant a landmine in the middle of the living room? And then get angry when they step on it?
And leave the front door open for the enemy to just walk in.
The source calls the whole thing contradictory and absurd. It says a story with that many holes can't possibly be divine truth.
It suggests the whole thing was, what was the phrase? A fixed match.
A rigged game.
A rigged game.
The fall of man, eating the fruit, the expulsion from the garden, none of it was a mistake. It was a setup.
It was designed from the start to make sure humanity would fail.
And feel guilty.
Yeah.
And remain subservient. And because we are trapped in logic, we try to rationalize it. We write libraries full of theology, trying to explain why a good God would set a trap.
But the source is screaming, stop trying to use logic to explain a lie.
The story doesn't make sense because it's not supposed to. It's designed to confuse you.
Which all leads back to that core idea, that hierarchy.
Logic is the trap. True reality is in what came before the logic, before the demiurge breathed the lie.
It's in the frequency, the vibration of the beginning.
Which brings us to the messenger.
To Radio-Mannadoro, because this isn't just some abstract philosophy. This is an artist who claims they are experiencing this directly.
Right. This is where we shift from Gnostic theology to what the source calls quantum reception.
So Radio-Mannadoro isn't presenting as a writer or a thinker, but as an antenna.
A receiver, yeah.
Yeah.
There's this really fascinating section about the artist's discography. Songs with these titles, like Too Late, Stop the Signal, Angry Liar.
And the claim is that these songs were written before the events they describe actually happened in the world.
The phrase used is knowing before knowing. It's describing a state of just pure intuitive foresight.
And the source is really specific about the proof, too. It brings up the SIAE, the Italian Copyright Society.
The analog age.
Right. It's basically saying, go check the timestamps, go look at the registration dates. I wrote the soundtrack to the apocalypse before the apocalypse even started.
But the explanation for how this works is what's really key for our deep dive.
This is the quantum physics part.
Right. The source leans heavily on concepts like superposition and entanglement.
Okay, so these are terms we usually hear from a physics lab. Entanglement is that spooky action at a distance, where two particles are linked instantly, no matter how far apart they are.
Well, the source applies this concept to time itself.
Okay, so not just across space.
Not just space. The idea is if the artist can sort of bypass that prison of logic.
And just get into a state of pure resonance.
Exactly. They become entangled with the frequency of events, regardless of where those events are on the linear timeline.
Whoa. So because they're not thinking in a straight line, because they're vibrating, they can literally pick up signals from the future.
From the future past, as the text paradoxically calls it.
Ah, of course.
It describes this state of knowing I didn't know and understanding I didn't understand. It wasn't an intellectual prediction. It wasn't analyzing trends.
It was a resonance.
It's like having a radio that can tune into a station that hasn't officially started broadcasting yet, but the signal is already out there in the air.
That's a great way to put it. And Radio-Mannadoro specifically aligns this with other visionaries, right?
Oh, yeah. The text mentions the cinema of disclosure.
David Lynch gets a huge mention. Twin Peaks.
The owls are not what they seem. Firewalk with me? The source argues that artists like Lynch or Kubrick, John Carpenter, Fritz Lang with Metropolis,
They're all tuning into the same frequency.
they're all tapping into it. But here's the catch.
The source says most people completely miss the message.
Because they're watching with their logical brains. They're following the plot, the dialogue, the words.
We see a cool noir mystery or a sci-fi epic.
But the source claims these films contain disclosure for the very few who can resonate, for the people who can feel the vibration underneath the story.
So while the masses are just being entertained by the narrative,
The resonators are seeing the code of the Matrix being laid bare.
it's the difference between just reading the lyrics of a song and actually feeling the bass vibrate in your chest.
That's it. The information isn't in the lyrics. It's in the vibration.
And speaking of vibration and, well, screaming, we have to talk about the format of this material itself. These video transcripts they're intense.
You're talking about the chanting.
Yes, the chanting. They're these long sections that are just lines and lines of
Heat.
or drums. On the page, it just looks like nonsense.
But think about it in the context of everything we've just discussed. If language is the prison, how do you break the listener out?
You have to destroy the language.
You destroy the syntax. You use overwhelming repetition.
It's hypnotic.
It's a trance induction. I mean, if I just say the word heat to you once, your logical brain goes, okay, temperature. I have a definition for that.
Right.
But if I chant heat, heat, heat at you over and over with a driving rhythm for 5 minutes, the definition dissolves.
The word loses its meaning.
It becomes a pure sound, a pure frequency.
It forces your brain to stop processing and just start.
It creates a vacuum where the logic used to be. And that allows the real signal, the frequency, to get in.
Yeah.
The source is trying to hack our consciousness by overloading the linguistic center of the brain.
It's a way to bypass the demiurge's programming. And speaking of the demiurge, I think we need to wade into the most controversial part of this deep dive, the theology.
Okay, yes, and we need to be really precise here. We are just reporting on the specific and very radical worldview that's presented in this source material.
This is a Gnostic inversion of religious history, and it's going to sound pretty shocking to a lot of people listening.
It absolutely will. The source essentially rewrites the roles of all the major spiritual players.
So let's start with that key distinction it makes between Satan and Lucifer.
Right. To most people, those two words are just synonyms for the devil.
Mm-hmm.
But the source argues that mixing them up is another one of these linguistic traps. It points out that the word Satan in Hebrew just means accuser or opponent or obstacle.
It's a job title, not a name.
It's a function. But Lucifer.
The light bringer.
Exactly. The source views Lucifer not as the villain of the story, but as the light, that divine spark that emanates from the monad, the true God who is above the flawed demiurge.
So in this cosmology, the Luciferian energy is actually the good guy. It's the force trying to wake us up from the simulation.
That's the argument. And the source claims that a normalization of pure Luciferian religion is happening right now. But, and this is a really crucial distinction, it separates this completely from Satanism.
Right. There's a very, very harsh critique of Satanists in the text.
It views Satanists, the people performing dark rituals, acting out of hate, using the system for their own power, as useful idiots.
That's a strong term.
It is. It calls them fuel for hell on earth.
Wow. What a brutal image.
It implies they're just being used. They are helex, a Gnostic term for soulless matter, who think they're serving some great dark power, but in reality, they're just expendable pawns in the demiurge's game.
But the biggest twist, the one that really turns all of history on its head, is what the source says about Jesus.
This is the great reversal. The source argues that the figure of Jesus has been hijacked.
Hijacked by who or by what?
By the Roman construct, by the empire.
Yeah.
The source puts forward this incredibly radical idea that Jesus was actually the true Lucifer.
Okay, wait. Let's unpack that. Because on the surface, that sounds like a total contradiction. Jesus is Lucifer.
In the sense that he was the ultimate rebel against the demiurge.
Okay.
I mean, think about it from this framework.
Okay.
If the world is a prison created by a false, flawed God, then the entity who shows up to break the locks, to tell people, hey, this isn't your real home, you are not of this world.
That person is the rebel, that's the light bringer.
That's the light bringer.
So Jesus came to free people from the Matrix.
Yes. But the source argues that the controllers, the Roman Empire, realized they couldn't just crush the message. It was too powerful.
Yeah.
So instead, they co-opted it. They hijacked the narrative.
And it points the finger at Peter and Paul specifically?
Very specifically. It's incredibly critical. It says, Peter turned the whole mission into a business. The institutional church, the structure, the power.
And Paul.
The source claims Paul was the one who adapted the radical Gnostic message to fit the imperial Judeo-Roman design. He's the one who twisted it.
So instead of a message about spiritual liberation from a prison,
It became a message about control.
total control.
Control over resources, control over bodies, and most importantly, control over minds. They turned the ultimate rebel into a sacrifice. They created this whole theology of guilt. He died for your sins, to keep humanity feeling indebted and submissive.
Instead of empowered to fly high and escape on their own.
It's an incredible conspiracy theory spanning 2,000 years of history. It suggests the religion we know is just a shell, a false logos, built to hide the true vibrational reality of what that teacher represented.
And it ties back perfectly to the central theme. If the word is a lie, then a religion based on a book on words, on dogma, on laws, is, by definition, a tool of the demiurge.
The true message wasn't in the words he spoke. It was in the frequency he carried.
So if we're living in this world built on a false logos, what does that look like today? The source uses that term, Kali Yuga.
That's a term from Hindu cosmology. It refers to the age of iron or the age of conflict. It's the final, darkest, most chaotic stage of a world cycle right before everything is destroyed and reborn.
And the source says we are buried alive in the Kali Yuga.
And that the glitchy matrix of today is the proof. The chaos, the violence, the confusion.
It describes our society as one based on abuse and prevarication. It says the matrix is glitching, the illusion is wearing thin, and that's why everything feels so unstable and insane right now.
It makes a lot of sense from that perspective.
There's also a very strong take on politics in the notes. The source explicitly warns against picking a side in the whole left versus right debate.
It calls it a fake dialectic.
A fake dialectic. So the fight is staged.
It implies that both sides are ultimately working for the same emperor. That if you're down on the ground fighting your neighbor over politics,
You're just engaging with the false logos.
you're trapped in the binary logic of the prison. You're not looking up at the people who are actually holding the keys to the cell.
There's a very specific and very vulgar example it gives about the American Second Amendment.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like we have to mention it because it just captures the raw frustration in the text so well.
It really does. The source just writes, "Remember, Americans, someone wrote the Second Amendment for you, and you stuck it up your arses."
I mean, tell us how you really feel, right? But what's the actual point being made there?
It's not really about guns, not in the typical political sense. It's about agency.
Okay.
The source is arguing that the tools for resistance, the ability to stand up and say no to tyranny, were given to the people. But instead of using those tools to resist the controllers, to resist the demiurge system, people just sat on them.
Or worse, use them against each other.
Exactly. It's this idea of just squandered potential. You had the power to reject the system, and you wasted it.
And it makes the same critique about money and fame.
The source says, you all play into. It just despises the desire for wealth and status. It calls the demiurge a con job.
That's a great line. The demiurge is a con job.
It's perfect.
Yeah.
If the creator of the material world is a con artist, then the currency of that world, money, fame, power, it's all just chips in a rigged casino.
And the source warns that those things corrupt your soul because they tie you deeper and deeper into the simulation.
They strengthen your chains.
So we're in the Kali Yuga. The matrix is glitching out. Politics is a distraction. Religion is a hijack. Logic is a trap. I mean, it sounds overwhelmingly bleak.
It does.
Yeah.
But the source insists there is a way out.
And it brings us full circle.
Right back to the beginning. Back to frequency.
The imperative that repeats over and over in the text is, stop the signal.
And stop resonating with low frequencies.
It sounds like advice you'd give a radio operator, but this is life advice.
And the instruction is simple. Don't talk, sing.
Sing like little birds, play, fly high.
It sounds almost childish, doesn't it? Sing like little birds.
A little bit, yeah.
But think about the Italian original we looked at. Non parlate. Cantate come Mussolini. It's a strategic instruction. If words are prisons, if logic is the enemy's home turf,
Then you have to move the fight to a different battlefield.
you have to move to music, to vibration,
Yeah.
to resonance.
Because you can't lie in a frequency. Is that the idea?
In a way, yeah, logic can be twisted. You can use words to lie, to manipulate, to build a whole false logos. But a pure vibration, a melody, it just
It
is,
bypasses the intellectual trap.
and connects directly to the spirit. So the solution isn't to try and out-debate the system.
It's to out-vibrate it.
Precisely. And notice the advice it gives on conflict. It doesn't say, go hide in a cave and meditate.
No, it says, create from the clash of ideas and opposites.
Procreate and generate culture.
That's very different.
It's about alchemy. You take the friction of the Kali Yuga, all the pain, the chaos, the clash, and instead of letting it destroy you, you use that energy to generate art. You use it to create a new, higher frequency.
And then, just when you think you've got a handle on all the metaphysics, the source throws in a reference to Pink Floyd.
Atom Heart Mother.
A classic. But why that specific album? The source mentions the mother of the heart of the atom.
It is cryptic, but it's such beautiful poetry. Think about the imagery. The atom is the fundamental building block of our material reality.
Okay.
The heart is the absolute core. And mother implies the source, the origin point.
So it's about returning to the core of reality.
Returning to the true source. Not the demiurge, the con artist, but the monad. The pure energy that exists at the very heart of the atom.
The source says something like, no one saves themselves on this world.
Right. Physical survival is impossible. The body is part of the demiurge's material world, so it's going to die. But it adds, those with souls must not sell them.
Those with souls. There's that Gnostic distinction again. Not everyone has the spark.
Not in this worldview, no. The helix are just matter. But for the listener, for the pneumatics, the spiritual people, the instruction is crystal clear. Do not sell your spark for safety in the matrix.
Do not trade your soul for the comfort of the false logos.
It's a call to spiritual arms. But the weapons aren't swords or guns, they're frequencies. It's about tuning your internal radio away from the static of the world.
And trying to pick up that original signal.
The vibration of the beginning, before the lie was ever breathed into us.
You know, when we started this, I thought we were just analyzing some, avant-garde art theory. But this is a complete worldview.
It really is.
It's terrifying in what it implies about our history and our religions, but it's also kind of empowering.
It really forces you to question the medium of your own thoughts. It's asking, are you actually thinking your own thoughts, or are you just rearranging the furniture inside a prison cell that's built of words?
That is the ultimate question, isn't it? And as we wrap up, I think we should just synthesize what we've covered. We went from rejecting logic as a control system
through a complete Gnostic rewrite of religious history,
all the way to this idea of the artist as a quantum receiver pulling in signals from outside of time.
And the central thread holding it all together is that we are living inside a construct that is actively trying to limit us. Whether that's through stupid religious stories that don't make sense,
or political theater that keeps us fighting each other,
or the very language we use to speak and think.
And the solution is so radical. It's just fly high. Don't play the rigged game down here on the ground.
It reminds me of that line about the useful idiots being fuel for hell on earth. The source is basically saying, don't be the fuel, be the fire. Or be the frequency.
Be the resonance.
And remember that phrase in the Italian text, musica è un linguaggio ancora da decifrare.
Music is a language still to be deciphered.
We haven't even begun to understand what music actually is.
And that leads me to the provocative thought I want to leave everyone with today. We all listen to music. We have our favorite bands. We memorize the lyrics. We sing along.
Oh.
But based on everything we've talked about today, are we listening to it wrong?
If the lyrics are words and words are the prisons.
Exactly. When you listen to your favorite song, are you so focused on the prison of the lyrics that you're missing the real information? What is the frequency telling you that your logical brain is just filtering out?
Is there a code hidden in the vibration that can actually unlock the door?
So next time you put your headphones on, just try it. Try to ignore the words. Stop listening to the logos of the song. And just start feeling the signal.
And if you find yourself resonating with something from the future, maybe write it down.
Or better yet, just sing it.
Right.
Thanks for taking this trip beyond logic with us. Fly high, everyone.
Goodbye.